Another very common thing to do in meditation, the traditions from around the world, is to do visualization practices. So this is the goal of this practice, this type of practice, is not simplicity like the ones we've been doing. This is kind of voluntarily going into the world of complexity and using that. But obviously, the previous meditations we've done feed into this. So the panoramic awareness type of meditation we were doing to begin with, that is kind of the context within which you can do any meditation practice within that context of the sort of ground of being, awareness, I amness, awakeness, just that kind of effortless alertness, which is the background of every moment. If that's the container within which you do any meditation practice, it has this kind of aliveness to it that penetrates the practice. And then doing something like the following your breath meditation. Alternatives to the breathing meditation might be focusing on a candle flame, is another classic one. Or meditating on an image of a deity or a mandala or something like that. So then when it comes to visualization practice, if you've developed the ability to concentrate, then obviously that helps with visualization, because you're trying to hold something in your mind to focus on, to visualize. And if you keep thinking of other things, you're trying to make this really real and vivid. So some classic things to visualize may be different energetic centers in your body, called chakras in the Indian tradition. Visualizing energy moving around inside your body to encourage energy to move in beneficial ways. Visualizing deities. So in a non-religious language, that would be visualizing your ideal version of something. And so if you an athlete might, so if there's someone, a javelin thrower, might visualize them doing a record-breaking throw or a personal best. How does it fit? So they really see themselves, they get into a relaxed state, they see themselves running up, throwing the javelin and seeing it go really far and breaking their personal best or something there, and then seeing it as if it's already happened, like they've actually done it. So that's the sort of secular version of it. Whereas in a religious context, you might visualize Jesus or something and have a beam of light energy coming from Jesus's heart directly into yours and filling you up with the love of Jesus, or that kind of thing. And the Tibetan Buddhists have very, very detailed visualizations of, those paintings that they have in Tibetan temples and things of these bodhisattvas and Buddhas and doing various things, and they're kind of holding certain ritual objects in their hands, and you have to visualize every single specific detail of it, over years, and make it very, very sophisticated and vivid visualization. And one of the really important things with visualization, which is something I picked up from a lady called Jean Houston, who's an American lady who's really wonderful woman, who's done a lot of work with visualization, is that it's important to activate all of your senses when you're visualizing something. So you're not just seeing something in your mind. How does that feel? What's the touch like? The scent. What's its sound? What's the sound there? Is there a taste, a smell? Does it smell of beautiful flowers, or does it smell of putrid decay, or does it smell of nature, or the rain, or what? Those kind of things really bring alive what you're trying to visualize. So what the visualization practice we're going to look at today is visualizing our death. And the reason why this is a good thing to do is it cuts through bullshit like nothing else. So quite it's a normal state for a person day to day is to just be oblivious to the fact that you're going to die and you don't know when you're going to die. You just think you're just going to go on forever, or the people around you are always going to be there. And it's obviously not true. And one of the things when you recognise how fragile your life is and the other people around you, is it makes life really special, and also can direct you to the most important things in your life. So I've always really enjoyed reading those lists of the 7 things that people who are dying say, they wish they'd done, or the 7 most important things that they come. Different hospices around the world have kind of produced these lists, and they're often pretty common. They've got a lot of commonalities. Things like spending more time with people you love, doing things you enjoy, not worrying about work, and those kind of things. So so what we're going to do is we're going to play around with this third person, second person and first person perspective taking on our own death. So to begin with, we're going to do it from a third person perspective. So we'll see yourself dying somewhere. Where so from this perspective, it will be, where are you? What's the room look like? These are all the it factors of it. What's it smell like in the room? What's it sound like? What's it feel like? You're not actually talking or anything like that to yourself. You're just observing the scene, so it's setting the scene. And we'll do that for a little bit, sort of activating all of our senses into this situation. And then we'll move into a second person perspective, where now we're actually going to talk, not out loud, but you're going to have a conversation with yourself there. And you can ask yourself whatever you want. So I'll suggest a few things to ask, but you can ask things like, what are you afraid, or how do you feel? What messages? What would you like me to know now? So this is almost like, this is kind of playing around with time. So it's as if you're visiting that moment of you dying and talking back in time to yourself now and saying, well, look, these are things you can do. This is what I would do differently if I was to go back in time to you now, sort of thing. And you can write down to take home with you, that you can write down some things that come out of this conversation. And that will be a bit like a list of the most important things to really focus on doing in your life. It might be things like, there might be a person that you've got to have a conversation with and clear something up, or it might be, you've got to visit this country you've always wanted to visit, or you know what I mean? I'm not going to. I'm just trying to give you a couple of examples, but we just go. You can go into this to the depth you feel comfortable doing. I mean, it's all right if you feel upset doing this. That's okay. But if you really want to go deep into this, maybe you want to do that either on your own at home or with someone you really feel very safe with, like a friend or something, and you might want to talk about it afterwards. And then we'll take the final step to a first person perspective, where you are there on your dying, wherever you're in a chair or in a bed, on your way.
On your way.
Yeah. Is there any other information that comes up from actually going into that experience, as if it's you there? Things that that might not have come out of the conversation, or just looking at the scene in the third person way. And if anything else comes up, you can write it down. And then when we finished, we can talk about the process, how it felt doing it, and and if there's any points you've written down which are sort of ones you feel comfortable discussing with us, we can do that. We can share one or two things that came up for us. Obviously, not asking you to bring up the most pressing personal issue in your, like that's for you to take away. Yeah. Okay. But it would be nice to talk a bit about what we've been through afterwards.
Okay. How long have we got for this?
Probably about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah?
20 minutes for all of it?
The whole thing will be 20 minutes,
Okay.
I think.
About. Are you going to tell us now we're doing first person, now we're doing second?
Yeah, I'll guide you through it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll guide you through the 3 stages. So.
Can I take that?
Yeah.
Even though we're going to be, you can write things down as they come up, or you can write it down afterwards. So maybe what we'll do. So if we've got the first, third person, second person, first person. After each one of those stages, maybe we'll have a little minute or two to do a bit of writing, and then we go into the next bit. Okay? Because I think if you're writing during the visualization, you'll be coming out. You want to make this visualization is all about making it as real and vivid as possible. So if you're visualizing this, you keep popping out to write something, and then going back in and then writing it. That might be a bit distracting. If you feel that you can do that, that's okay. You can do it, but it might be better to wait till the end of that session to write down your thing before we go into the next phase of it. Yeah? So, everyone happy with what we're going to do? Okay. So I'll ring the bell to start and I'll ring the bell to finish, and I'll say when we're going to be going into each of the phases, and we'll have a little minute after each one to write some stuff. Okay. Okay. And we'll do it, as I say, about 20 minutes. So we just take a couple of minutes to just sit in silence, to just get tuned in. So we're not thinking about anything in particular at the moment, we're just being present in this moment in a relaxed way. Okay. So the first phase of this visualization practice, the third person perspective. So see yourself dying. Where are you? What's the room look like? Is it a room? Are you inside? Are you outside? What are the colours? What do you look like? If the image is kind of wobbling around a little bit, you just stick with it, and it will slowly become more focused. Are there other people there? What's it sound like? Is there a smell? Is there a taste? Does the place smell and taste of something? What does it feel like in your body to be present at this moment, seeing yourself dying? Is there a feeling somewhere in your body? What does it feel like? Maybe you can feel the atmosphere of the moment or the place. What time of day is it? What season? Where are you standing in relation to this future self of yours? Are you standing beside yourself, away to the distance? Are you sitting next to yourself? Are you holding your hand? Where are you in this scene? Okay, I don't think we'll write anything about this. We're just going to go straight into the second person perspective phase of this visualization practice. Then we'll do some writing at the end of that one. So you can now, in your mind, to yourself, not out loud, have a conversation with yourself, this future self of yours that is about to die. You can ask yourself anything you like. messages is your future self giving you now, things that are important for you to know now. In fact, it's probably a good idea to write some things down if you find it hard to hold it in mind. Keep your writing short though, so you don't get too distracted. Are any of your the answers from your future dying self surprising to you? Is it easy to have this conversation, or is it difficult? So You've got time to just ask yourself one more question and receive one more answer before we move into the next phase. We'll take a minute to write stuff down if you haven't already. Is there something you can do now in your life to help your dying future self? Is there something you can put into action now in your life that would ease the process of your dying? Okay, so we're just about half a minute left to write down any last things from this conversation before we switch into the first person perspective. Okay, so now we're going to switch perspectives. Now it's you. There's not two of you anymore. It's you are the one that's about to die. And what does it feel like in your body? What's it taste like? What's the smell? Can you hear? What can you hear? you see? What kind of emotions are you experiencing? Okay, you can write down any extra things that might have come out of that last phase. Was there anything unexpected? Things you couldn't have predicted? So we'll just take a moment to come out of that because it might have been quite intense for you. Ooh. So, is there anything anyone wants to say about the first part of that? The third person perspective, seeing the scene. You know, do you only share things you feel comfortable sharing? Obviously, you don't feel that you have to share stuff you don't feel comfortable sharing. There's no pressure.
It's quite tricky because, first I kind of imagined my mum's mum, because I think I imagine I'll look more like her than like my dad's mum.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of trying to change features, you know, I was like, well, she's really Asian looking, and I'm not, so it's like, oh, I probably look a little bit more like this, like, it was quite tricky, but it was really nice. I'm really looking forward to being old and dying, actually, so like, but in the least morbid way possible. Like, all of that was quite pleasant, and yeah, I felt kind of like, it still felt like really quite pleasant. I like the idea of being old, and yeah, it was all really peaceful.
Where were you?
In a really comfy bed, and there was a very big window, and you were like, and what sounds can you hear? And yeah, well, I was just like imagining what I want to imagine, you know, so and there wasn't any like resistance to that. Like there wasn't like another part of me that was like, well, it's not going to be like that. It's just like, oh, this is what I would like, and I could hear the birds outside here. I was like, yeah, that'll do. That would be nice. And it feeling airy.
It can bring into focus actually what you want, your ideal scenario. I mean, you know, we may not have thought about this before. You know, a lot of people haven't actually thought. You know, what would be your ideal circumstances for your death? Where would you like to be?
I'd really like to, like my great-grandma, my dad's mother on his mother's side, she said that she was just really tired, like she went to bed and she was like, I'm really tired now. Like, and then just fell asleep and didn't wake up, and like that, I'd love that. I'd like to be just old and tired and just like, I don't want to be suffering, like, you know. So that's what I envisioned for myself, and it was nice. And the actual dying bit was like what I've been doing here, you know, and you're like slipping into sleep and you kind of go, ooh.
Oh, we'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
We're just in phase 1 at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say?
I found it really hard to visualise. Like anything, like the pictures just wouldn't come into focus. I found it really difficult. So, but again, mine was like picturing my ideal scenario, and it was all very peaceful as well, no pain, just tired and like heavy feeling.
Different people, some people are visual people, some people are, you know, feely, touchy-feely, some people are listeners, you know. That's why I like to bring all the senses into a visualisation practice, because the term visualisation makes you think it has to be something you see. But you may not see. You could not see anything, but have a very, very strong emotional feeling of the scene, or you know, the smell, or something like that. That's not to do with seeing it.
Okay.
So that's like quite a common thing, and you know, when people think with visualization, you have to see something. And it's more about creating an imaginary scenario that's very vivid, as vivid for you as possible, whatever that entails. Yeah. Anything else you want to add about that bit of it? Okay. Anything else?
I found it very difficult to visualise it until you said we could write. And as soon as I picked up my pen, I was able to write it down.
Look at that.
With no problems at all.
Yeah.
So it's, as you say, we all see things in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did surprise myself a little bit actually. you wonder how much of it is actually for real, what you actually think is going to happen, and how much of it goes into create cohesive storytelling mode. And I think it's sort of like a bit of both, really. But what I wrote, I can actually really see happening for real. So it must actually be quite a true account of what I think will happen.
Mm. I mean, this is pretty far out there, but I mean, I personally, I don't rule this out as a possibility that all time exists simultaneously, and that in the same way you can remember the past, I think it's not inconceivable that you could remember the future in a kind of weird way. So, but, you know, I don't know. It's just one possibility of the way things are.
I mean, if I'd been asked yesterday or the day before how I would see myself when the time came to say goodbye to everyone, I wouldn't have had a clue. But from what I've looked at today, I can see it really would happen, the way that I've put it down, because I'm the sort of person who can't rest until everything's done. So I wasn't laying in a bed with all my loved ones around me saying goodbye to everyone. I was finishing off the things I knew I had to finish off before I could then say my goodbyes.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up dying on the job. That's me. That's how I am. That is me in every aspect of my life. So I actually can't really see myself being any different when the time comes to go.
But are there some things that you can do now? I know you don't have to share specific examples, but were there some things that you were like, I really need to step up and do this now?
Yeah, do you know what? It was quite funny because when I started looking at the second person, the questions, there was a conflict between the two people. So like the first one was saying, why can't you come in? Why do you have to be out there doing that now? It doesn't need to be done now. Why can't you come in out of the car? And I'm saying, because I haven't finished what I need to do yet. And it's like, well, why can't you practice some self-care for once in your life? And yeah, and I actually think that is true. I do actually need to stop, to put the world on hold and give myself that breathing time, because I don't give myself a lot of it ever.
You're not alone.
But I think mine probably comes from my upbringing and the fact that my family were always you have to be doing something productive. So I learned from a very, very young age to multitask. I have a bath and I'm writing notes or planning things for the next day. I never do something just to do it, to enjoy it. Apart from coming here today, so maybe that was like a big first step for me.
Well, I normally, when I start these workshops, I normally congratulate people for taking the time out to come and do this sort of thing, because it's actually quite rare.
I can believe that.
You know, it's it's part of one's self-care, isn't it, to do this kind of thing, and it feels indulgent. You know, to take a day out.
A whole day of the weekend. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to? Anything else you wanted to share?
No, not really.
So I realised that I'd been thinking about dying ever since I was a kid. I was one of those kids that was like, nobody's talking about dying. You know, so what is this? You know, I was really thought about it a lot. It's like, you know, I knew we were all going to die and I was going to die, but no one was talking about it, and so I would just fantasize about it. But it helped me realise what I wanted to say. I was outside, actually, outdoors, slightly shaded underneath a tree, and it was sort of spring, summertime. And I was in a bed outside with people I really, you know, people, my most cherished people around me. and it actually felt really. It felt like a really nice, special moment. You know, it wasn't a lot of fear. So. But it's made me realise that I think if I can, I would quite like to arrange that I was actually outdoors.
That's so cool.
Mm.
Why didn't I think of that? That is cool. I have a big window.
Yeah, well there you
I want to
go.
be able to be outside.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be.
I mean, it may not be possible because of whatever, but if I can do it, so it's something I need now is I need to actually talk to my wife, my brother, and then my kids when they're old enough to say, well, this is. I mean, I might even write it into my will or something. I don't know. It's a kind of concrete action I might take in that. And it's none of us have been like dying in an accident or anything like that, which is quite nice. And so I spent a lot of my childhood imagining different ways to die. Yeah, pretty gross ones included.
One thing that surprised me, are we on to the second person or not quite yet?
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay, so one of the things I wrote down was, one of the questions was, are you ready to go yet? And I replied, yes, I've been preparing for this all my life. So I'm clearly going to die when I'm old too. I'm almost ready. And then I've put, it's a journey, not the end. And when I started thinking about that, because I just wrote it without thinking about it, it just sort of like came off the tip of my pen and made me realise that I must have a lot more belief in what's going to happen afterwards than I've ever given it credit for.
Mm.
Because I wouldn't have put that down had I not believed in it. So I'm not seeing it as that's it, I don't exist any longer, but actually I'm just going somewhere else. Which I thought was quite interesting, because I've never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me something else to think about now when I get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's great in a visualization practice is when unexpected things come up like that. This is a creative practice, where the unexpected happens, and it's about unpredictability, in a way. It's like it's a living thing, Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that conversation?
Not really, I think I've said enough about
Yeah.
it, really.
Okay.
It did take me a bit by surprise.
Yeah.
I had so much to ask myself.
How about you?
What was I saying before?
Well, so we're now talking about the second person perspective part of the practice, where what was the conversation like? Is there anything you wanted to share about that?
No, I don't think so. Nothing like interesting.
Okay.
It's all pretty like standards.
Nothing surprising. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to be surprised every time you do it, but
Nothing was surprising. Nothing that I asked myself or that was said to me was just like, yeah. It didn't feel like, I can't remember it and I'm not saying anything. So
okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Mine was pretty. I expected like lots of kind of almost like answers to stuff, but like my main ones were like, don't let anxiety rule you, and like let yourself fall in love, and that a reassuring like you'll do everything that you want to do in your life, and that was kind of it. I was quite surprised like there wasn't anything
like I had that, but I'm not surprised by that, and I just feel like that's like standard. But
Well, yeah, I like you. Said that my life, just the way it is the goal. But also, it's this kind of a bit paradoxical that I have to live my dreams now. I can't think, oh, there's going to be a time in the future where I can live all my dreams out. I've got to do it now. I've got to have the courage to live my dreams now. But that however my life turns out, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, so a lot, it's kind of similar thing that it's like there's all sorts of things that would be really good to do, but if I don't get round to doing them all, it's okay, And forgive was something that came up for me, that it just to forgive myself and other people for not entirely living up to my expectations, all my life and all that, to just be that generous. Because I think that there was the impression I was getting from myself is that there's always something unfinished, and that's okay.
Can I just say, I really don't want to take any meaning out of what you just said. I meant more. I wasn't shocked that myself said that to me. I was kind of like, okay, but I didn't want to take any meaning out of yourself saying it to you.
Yeah, one sentence which I quite liked, which came out of it was, it's just so cliched and cheesy, but was that your dreams are the most important compass in life. It's like, when you feel like, which way should I go in life? It's a bit like that kind of feeling, the hot and cold zone. It's like you feel where your dreams want to take you, and then the only thing stopping you from going is just the courage to do it. But getting the courage to live my dreams, I can get that courage by kind of tapping into this me dying and saying, right, well, this is it. I haven't got the chance to do it now because I'm going to die any minute. So you're alive now. It's kind of weird talking like this because I'm referring to myself in the third person, second person, but yeah. Anything else about that particular phase of it? Okay, so then the final phase was the first person perspective. That is you on your deathbed. Did anything else come out of that for you?
I think that's what I started to say, that I felt like it was just like an in-breath and then an out-breath, and with my out-breath it was just like falling asleep but more heavy in my body. Like a kind of, like, it was just, that was it, that was me dying. Just like, like falling asleep. And then there being some light.
Did you feel afraid or anything like that?
I was like, yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
But this is it.
And how does that make you feel now?
Nice. I don't think had fear of death. I've had a fear of being scared in the moment that I die, like that. But there's no point in me thinking about that. It's just a waste of energy. So I don't tend to think. But there have been times in my life where I've been scared, like had a fear of the fear. But yeah, I just feel nice.
I did some volunteering for a few years at the hospice, 2 local hospices here, and I did a 2-day course in bereavement at the beginning of that, and they asked us about statistics of how people die. You know, how many people die in accidents and how many people die, surrounded by loved ones, and we all vastly exaggerated how many people die in horrific circumstances, and they said the actual statistics are the vast majority of people die peacefully amongst loved ones. That's how most people die. But because of newspapers and all of that stuff, all the people on this course, we'd all thought that maybe half the people that die in car crashes and all that sort of stuff. And that statistic had a big impact on me. I was like, oh, okay. Because I always thought I'd be eaten by a shark or something like that. Yeah.
I actually started to imagine that there was loved ones around me and someone was a grandchild was holding my hand or whatever, and then I kind of rubbed it out and then imagined just being on my own and family being nearby, in another room or something, and that felt totally fine. That felt comfortable. I think what I'm saying is just the whole thing was really peaceful. It didn't matter if there was but I didn't imagine being completely on my own in the middle of nowhere and but it just felt it wasn't necessary that I had people right there next to me holding my hand. It was just it was fine.
Yeah.
Either was fine.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Not really. The only thing that surprised me a little bit was the fact that I was out in the cold. I could have been in the comfy of the house. I was out in the cold. It was winter. It was a miserable afternoon. I thought, a good time to die. I never liked the winter. It's always been the worst time of year. And I'm out there. I'm on my own. I recognise the fact that the family will have to come round soon, but I'm still enjoying my own company and being on my own. And I wonder whether in that situation I'll actually ever get the family round, or whether I will die on my own. Whether it's the fact that I want to protect them from seeing me dying, or whether it's because actually I do quite like my own company and very rarely get a chance to have any, so maybe it's going to take it to that stage before I actually have that time.
Right.
It could be, couldn't it? Final wish, a final request. But it's more important for me that I'm outside in that garden sorting out things that need sorting out so nobody else has got to do with them, than I'm with my loved ones, which is quite interesting. Cry for space, I think.
Yeah. That is interesting.
I don't think I really had anything just that I felt at peace. And then I could feel someone there, next to me, with me.
What, did it feel like a living person or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So things that surprised me is I did experience some pain but I had no strength to fight it or to like dumb it down. So just the pain kind of morphed into just this overwhelming sensation, energetic thing, which I just couldn't control it or anything, and it just went, and it actually was quite an amazing thing in itself. It wasn't like it started off like, oh, I don't want to feel this, and then it's like I haven't got the strength to fight this, and then that sensation turned into something quite amazing, which was a bit surprising. I felt extremely grateful for having had my life, whatever it was, whatever happened in my life. I felt very, very grateful. And I also felt quite excited about what was going to happen too. Curious, like, what's actually finally going to happen? Which was quite surprising. But yeah, there you go. Well, with these kind of practices, when you first start doing them, you kind of divide them up into these bits. It's a bit like learning to drive, the gear stick, check your mirrors, all that. With time, you get more familiar with these kind of practices. It just kind of blends into one thing, and you can kind of just, when you've got a spare moment, just go off into that and do that. They can just become like a reflex to do it. But yeah, it's an important thing that people don't often think about, is it? So, but it can really help you focus the direction of your life.
I like what's most important.
Yeah. Cutting through the bullshit.